I'm here today with the cast of The Three Idiots. Upon release, this movie has broken all box records in India, so congratulations. Will you guys please give us a brief overview of the movie?
So basically the movie starts off with Raju and Paran trying to find their friend Rancho, which is played by me, and throughout the process they revisit their college life and recall how I changed their life perspective.
I've heard that the movie has really dynamic characters in it. You give us a brief overview of your character.
So I played as Raju. Raju's main purpose of going to college in the beginning is because his family is in poverty. His father's half paralyzed, his mother is working at a very low wage. So being an engineer would give him a very steady income. But Rancho taught Raju that learning, you can't learn because of fear. You can't learn because you're scared of not succeeding. You have to learn because you love learning. So that's how Rancho changed Raju's life.
So I played the role of Farhan, and initially Farhan was a very obedient student and child. He listened to his father and pursued engineering because that was his father's main goal for him. However, after he met Rancho, he realized that his passion is actually in wildlife photography, and so towards the end of the movie, Farhan was able to convince and persuade his father to let him quit engineering, quit school, and to pursue his interest in photography.
I played the role of Rancho, and I started off as a poor servant boy who worked for a really rich family. But however, my master realized that I have a passion, a skill in engineering, so then he, instead of sending his son into engineering school, he sent me in.
I've also heard that there are other two characters, really central characters, Virus and Chatur, right? Will you guys give us a brief overview of this one?
So Virus and Chatur are very similar characters. Both of them follow the traditional social conventions in India, and both of them believe that you have to memorize everything. You have to learn because you want to succeed in the future, not because you love what you learn. So the bad side about this is that you don't actually follow your dreams. You don't actually live a really happy life. You only learn because you want to be successful. You want to get rich.
True. I've also heard from other critics and from other sources that they compared your movie with The Awakening by Kate Chopin. What's your response to that?
So basically Rancho and Edna both came from relatively rich families, and however they were able to overlook these social conventions and follow what their true passion lies with. And while Rancho, who could have pursued another career such as biology or doctor or anything else, he chose to follow his passion in engineering and pursuit. And while, for example, Edna, who realized that she is not fit for motherhood, she quickly dissociated herself with her children. And so I think a common thing from both of these movies, and this movie and this book, is that in order to attain true happiness, you'll have to go for your interest and your passion instead of following what the society wants you to follow.
Alright, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right now with me, I have Rancho and the movie's director. And throughout the movie, I noticed that there were a couple of significant symbols. And the first one I noticed was the tower with the September 5th engraving on it. So, Rancho, do you want to elaborate on that?
Okay, so the tower is basically a physical manifestation of the conflict between independent and conventional thinking. So while Rancho and his friends represents independent thinking, they view the tower with like a place where they can hang out, where they can have fun. And as they get to the top of the tower, they get closer to the sky, which basically represents free thinking. So as they reach the top, they become free thinkers of their own, or are capable of dissociating themselves from the normal society. However, in contrast, Chatur, who basically represents conventional thinking, views the tower with hostility and engraves a physical mark of September 5 on it as a sign of revenge, or future revenge.
Chatur's nickname, which is the Silencer, is actually pretty interesting, so I was wondering why you gave him that name.
I'm glad you noticed. So basically, on the surface, it means basically his farts are silenced, and that's why Rancho and his friends gave him that nickname. But under the surface, it serves as a symbol because it symbolizes how his voice and his ability to think creatively and his originality is silenced. And just like the scene on how he just basically regurgitates information on what's the definition of a machine. So I put that in.
Throughout the movie, I noticed that Rancho kept repeating the phrase "all is well." So Rancho, do you want to talk about why that is important?
All is well is more of a motif than a symbol, and it symbolizes the protection against the infiltration of conventional thinking. So So throughout the entire movie, Rancho and his friends would murmur these 3 words in order to reassure themselves that of their cavalier and innovative manners. And this phrase is also further emphasized when the baby of Pia's sister responds only to these 3 words. Like when he kicks, and he also breathes his first breath when he hears these words. And this shows that the importance of free thinking, of going against social conventions.
Is it?
Wait, I have one last question for the movie's director. Why did you put so much emphasis on Virus's pen?
So Virus's pen is very central in the movie. Basically, in the start, Virus states that he would only give his pen to a student that he sees really worthy of a pen. And so I think I placed the pen inside to symbolize the Indian educational system that Virus embodies, which is basically a transferal of information. And it's like a one-size-fits-all education where students regurgitate information. And so the fact that in the end of the movie, Virus gives the pen to Rancho symbolizes how he finally finds a student with a new ideal of education, and that he thinks that Indian education can move toward that ideology that the student embodies. So that's why he gave him the pen.
Okay, so here we have Chatur and Joy Lobo. Would you guys please talk about the irony of the film?
So I played the role of Joy Lobo, and in the movie I was actually one of the very few students who actually enjoy engineering. However, because of the academic pressure from Virus, I became very dejected and very discouraged, and I even committed suicide in the end. And so my name is very ironic because although I am named Joy, I actually became a very, very pessimistic person who failed to succeed.
So as for Chatur, he's a very ironic character because he follows the traditional way to study. He memorizes everything, works very hard, even takes pills to memorize things. But in the end, when he graduated, he didn't turn out on top. It was Rancho, the person who follows his dreams, learns because he loves learning, that turns out at top instead. And when Virus gave out his pen that symbolized success, he gave it to Rancho instead of Chatur. So it really brings out the irony on how the person who follows the tradition and works hard does not necessarily become happy and become the most successful. Thank you, director, for coming back again. Could you please talk about pathetic fallacy and how you use it in your movies?
I'm glad you noticed. So I really like using pathetic fallacy in my movies, and it's basically when the weather or the environment emphasizes the emotions of the character or the central theme of the story. So on the top of my head, I can remember a scene where Rancho attends Joy Lobo's funeral, and the rain really sets the atmosphere as gloomy and depressive. And so basically that comments on how the pressure of the Indian education system is really sad. And so another scene where I jump to sunny and fair weather is when Virus hands the pen to Rancho. That scene, I really like that scene because the sun and the fair weather really sets the atmosphere as a happy and warm scene, and it basically comments on how Virus is handing over his educational system and reveals that Rancho's way of dealing with education is really positive. Well, today we have with me two critics of the movie, and they have really special observations. So would you give us your observations, please?
Okay, so thank you. My observation is that I think this movie shows aspects of the Smurfette principle because Pia is the only female character that is portrayed in depth. For example, she was the one who made Virus aware that he was the one who murdered his son by giving him academic pressure, and also she was also the only female character that went against how marriage is. She doesn't marry for financial reasons, but because of what she truly believes and what she really wants.
Okay, my observation is that I noticed that the whole movie is about going against India's social conventions and that it's critiquing India's social expectations of gender. For example, all the women were expected to be doctors and all the men were expected to be engineers, and those are the only suitable jobs for them. And it also emphasizes upon grades, studying, as well as memorization. And I think that India's educational system also reflects on those three aspects. However, I realized that Rancho is the opposition to the social conventions because he was able to be successful because he follows his own interest and passion and his love of learning. and he does not restrict himself and confine himself within India's social coverage.
जाने तुझे सीढ़ी बजा के बोल भैया